The door closed with a soft click, and the room went silent. Ethan felt it immediately, the shift in air, the kind that told you decisions were being made without you. He stood outside the conference room, holding a folder no one had asked for, watching shadows move behind frosted glass. Inside were men and women whose names never appeared in headlines, but whose choices shaped everything. Ethan had worked for years to get close to them. Degrees, results, late nights, loyalty. None of it mattered. "Sorry," a voice said behind him. "They're starting." Ethan turned. "I'm on the agenda." The assistant didn't even look at the folder. "Not today." The door stayed shut. That was the moment Ethan understood something was wrong with the story he'd been told his entire life. That night, he sat alone in his apartment, replaying every conversation, every polite smile, every ignored email. He had done everything right. Or so he thought. "You don't get it," his friend Marcus had warned him weeks earlier. "Power doesn't reward honesty, it rewards understanding." Understanding of what? Ethan had asked. Marcus had only smiled. Human nature. That sentence haunted him now. The book arrived in a plain brown package. No return address. Inside, the pages were marked, underlined, annotated in the margins. The name on the cover was infamous, feared, quietly studied. Niccolo Machiavelli. Ethan scoffed at first. "This is manipulation," he muttered. But as he read, his discomfort turned into recognition. "These aren't rules," he whispered. "They're mirrors." At the next networking event, Ethan didn't try to impress anyone. That was the first law revealing itself. He stood quietly near a senior executive named Caldwell, listening as others competed for attention. "I don't know how you handle the pressure," one man said, laughing too loudly. Caldwell smiled politely, unimpressed. When the crowd thinned, Ethan spoke. "There's a flaw in the supplier chain," he said calmly. "It hasn't exploded yet, but it will." Caldwell turned sharply. "Explain." Ethan did. No flattery, no emotion, just usefulness. Caldwell nodded once. "Come by my office tomorrow." Marcus had been right. Power doesn't respond to admiration. It responds to value. But value alone wasn't enough. Ethan learned quickly to hide his hunger. At meetings, he spoke less. When praised, he deflected. When asked about his goals, he shrugged. "I'm learning," he said simply. Behind his silence, others relaxed. No one fears a man who appears satisfied. This was the second truth Machiavelli whispered from centuries ago. Ambition exposed is ambition punished. One afternoon, a colleague pulled Ethan aside. "You're dangerous," she said half-jokingly. Ethan smiled. "I'm invisible." She laughed, not realizing how serious he was. When Ethan was invited into a private dinner, he noticed something unsettling. No one talked about ideas. They talked about loyalty. "He's reliable," one woman said of an absent partner. "Never embarrasses us." "That's rare," another replied. "Keep him close." Ethan realized then that truth was negotiable. Image was not. So he protected their image, even when he disagreed, especially when he disagreed. Weeks passed, his access expanded, but every step forward came with a test. One night, Caldwell leaned toward him and lowered his voice. "You heard the rumors about Peterson." Ethan nodded. He had. "They're exaggerated," Caldwell said, "but they're useful." Ethan felt the weight of the moment, expose the truth, and become a liability. Protect the story and become trusted. "I haven't heard anything," Ethan said carefully. Caldwell smiled. "Good." That was the day Ethan learned another law. Loyalty is leverage. Still, something gnawed at him. Late at night, he argued with his reflection. "This isn't you," he said softly. But another voice answered back, colder. "This is how the world actually works." When Ethan finally entered the room he'd once been barred from, no one applauded. They simply made space. A woman across the table studied him. "You don't chase," she observed. "Why?" Ethan met her gaze. "Chasing implies need." She smiled slowly. "Exactly. Absence," Machiavelli warned, "creates desire. Predictability creates contempt." Ethan had stopped being predictable. As the meeting ended, Caldwell placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You understand us," he said. "That's rare." Ethan nodded, but his chest felt tight. Understanding had opened the door, but he was beginning to see the cost. And if this story is making you uncomfortable, that's not an accident. Before we go deeper, like this video, subscribe to the channel and comment below. What do you think matters more in life? Being good or being understood? Because Ethan was about to learn something darker. Access changes you, and once you see how connection really works, you cannot unsee it. Ethan noticed the change before anyone said it out loud. People waited for his reaction. Not approval, not leadership, permission. A pause before he spoke carried more weight than a long speech ever had. He had become rare in the room, and rarity had sharpened his value. "You're quiet today," the woman across the table said. Her name was Elise, old money, sharp eyes. "I'm listening," Ethan replied. She nodded, satisfied. "Good. Most people talk themselves out of relevance." He understood now. Silence was no longer absence. It was control. A week later, a junior executive approached him nervously in the hallway. "They're planning to remove Carter," the man whispered. "Everyone knows, but no one will say it." Ethan looked at him calmly. "Why are you telling me?" The man hesitated. "Because you're trusted." That word landed heavier than praise. Ethan could expose the plan. Warn Carter. Become a hero. Or he could do nothing. He remembered Machiavelli's warning. Never side with the doomed against the powerful. "I don't know anything about that," Ethan said evenly. The man swallowed and nodded, backing away. Carter was gone 2 weeks later. No one mentioned his name again. That night, Ethan stared at his phone, hovering over Carter's number. He didn't call. Connection required sacrifice. Sometimes it was other people. Sometimes it was yourself. Elise tested him next. During a private conversation, she leaned in and said, "People think I'm ruthless." Ethan tilted his head. "I think you're careful." Her lips curved slightly. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in years." He had mirrored her self-image perfectly, not softened it, not challenged it, validated it. Vanity, Machiavelli noted, is hunger disguised as confidence. Feed it carefully, and it will protect you. As Ethan's access deepened, so did the tension. Every word mattered now. One wrong sentence could erase years of restraint. At a closed-door meeting, a heated argument broke out. "You're wrong," someone snapped at Caldwell. The room froze. Caldwell's jaw tightened. Ethan felt the shift instantly. Fear had entered the space. He spoke gently. "I think what he means is that the timing may need adjustment." The attacker looked relieved. Caldwell relaxed. Afterward, Caldwell pulled Ethan aside. "You saved him," he said quietly. "And me." Ethan shook his head. "I protected the room." Caldwell studied him. "You're learning faster than most." But learning had consequences. At dinner with Marcus, Ethan barely spoke. "You're different," Marcus finally said. "You don't argue anymore." Ethan took a sip of his drink. "Arguments are expensive," Marcus frowned. "You sound like them." Ethan met his eyes. "I sound like reality." Silence fell between them. That was when Ethan realized something else Machiavelli never softened. Power isolates. The final invitation came without ceremony, a private retreat. No assistants, no phones. As Ethan entered the secluded estate, Elise walked beside him. "Do you ever miss who you were?" she asked casually. Ethan considered the question. "I miss ignorance," he said honestly. She smiled. "We all do. That's why we protect each other." Inside, the conversations were quiet, dangerous, precise. No one spoke of morality, only consequences. Ethan listened, absorbed, adapted. He had become indispensable, not because he was the smartest, but because he understood fear, ego, and self-interest better than anyone in the room. Late that night, alone in his room, Ethan finally exhaled. He had access, but access had rewritten him. He looked at his reflection again, just as he had weeks earlier. "This is how the world works," he whispered. The reflection stared back, unreadable. The next morning, Elise stopped him before he left. "One last thing," she said. "Why do you think we let you in?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. "Because I never threatened you," he said finally. "And I never needed you." She nodded. "Exactly." As Ethan walked away, he understood the final law without reading it. Connection isn't built on honesty. It's built on emotional safety. Make powerful people feel unchallenged, validated, and protected, and they will open doors no achievement ever could. If this story made you see the world differently, now is the moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Which truth disturbed you the most? Because once you understand these laws, you'll start seeing them everywhere. In meetings, in friendships, in silence. And the most dangerous thing about them? They work. End.